Story, species, story, medicine, extra strength. Ready to take your medicine with Gina Virginia Casella?
Species of medicine, open for the task. Extra strength is everything you'd ever ask. Many with the soil, many with the seed. Earth is a medicine for you and for me. Scrubbing out the tarnish, building up the trust. Honest little tales rising from the rust. The truth is in the living, truth is in skin. Open up the portal, let the healing in. Extra strength, extra soul. Medicine to make us whole. Feel the rhythm, feel the pace. In every single space. Are you ready for the cure? Keep it steady, keep it pure. Extra strength.
Hi, Dragon Dreamers. Gina Virginia Casella here, and I'm so happy that you joined me today. I've got my good friend Kenny. We're having a little bit of internet issues, but Kenny, I see you there behind the stage. I'm glad that you made it. A big welcome to you. Before I pull you to the stage, Kenny, I want to read your biography here. So Kenny and I know each other from Dr. Bruce Lipton's community. And I find Kenny to be so inspiring. I tell you a little bit about him. Before I formally read his biography, the reason I find Kenny so inspiring is because of limitations. He is full of adventure, full of excitement, professionally was racing as a motorcyclist. And one day in the early 80s, I was born in 81. And my birthday is also August 14th, Kenny. But on one tragic day, Kenny was in a motorcycle accident and lost the use of his legs. But that didn't stop him. The guy went on to play basketball on a wheelchair and even now doing downhill skiing. So let me just show you this picture here of Kenny. Kenny LaCome, first-time guest right here on Story, Species, Story, Medicine. And this picture here is just a phenomenal picture. I don't know how Kenny does it. I have a hard time. I've been downhill skiing. And, you know, and to clarify, this isn't cross country. It's downhill skiing, full blown. But let me do Kenny a bit more justice here. Let me read his actual biography. So Kenny grew up in New Mexico during the 60s and 70s. He started working on all kinds of things, including motorcycles as a technician. And by the time he was in his early teens, he became very competitive as a motorcyclist, racing throughout his entire teen years, moved to the Northwest in the early 80s, became a motorcycle road racer. And that's what led him to the professional career as a motorcycle road racer, which didn't last too long. While racing in Aspen, Colorado, August 14th, 1983, my birthday is August 14th, 1981, Kenny crashed while motorcycling this road racing business, and he ended up with a spinal cord injury, becoming paraplegic. So he's wheelchair bound now for 4 decades. And he was introduced to living foods lifestyle by an older sibling, growing wheatgrass and sprouts. And he's been doing this, and he's been quite the advocate now for living foods lifestyle for the past few decades, even growing his own sprouts for over 40 years. Kenny is certified in living foods. He's a health educator. And while he was in rehab, it was mentioned about the adaptive sports. So within a year after the motorcycle crash, this is when Kenny started playing wheelchair tennis. And 2 years later, got involved in snow skiing on a sit ski. So, of course, the competitive nature is still coming out in Kenny. And he was selected to the U.S. Alpine Adaptive Ski Team, which led to being a pioneer in the sport, designing it, building, manufacturing it, adapting ski equipment. And so Kenny has all kinds of learning that he's doing. People are learning from him, his applications to use the equipment and provide the insight is really powerful. Basketball, wheelchair, marathons, and he applied for a U.S. patent and was granted a U.S. patent in March 2000 for the suspension design of a sit ski. And this qualified Kenny to compete in the patent design sit ski at the 2002 Winter Paralympics Games in Salt Lake City, Utah, where Kenny was inspired to pursue adaptive Nordic cross country. I mean, it just goes on here, right, Dragon Dreamers? The sit skiing, and this transformed into cross country skiing, which he's been doing now for over a decade. So between alpine sit skiing and cross country skiing, Kenny's pretty competitive, more than 38 seasons combined. And honestly, Kenny's very open about his story. If it wasn't for the pursuit in life and all those who have been involved in his personal life, especially Jennifer Grace and Tony Robbins, Kenny just would not have been able to achieve all that he's achieved. Really inspired. So welcome, Kenny. Let me bring you to the stage here. Thank you for being on my show. And I'm glad you made it. I wasn't sure if I was going to be doing it alone here today.
Well,
how are you, Kenny?
Here. I'm well. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great that you're here. So, I mean, what stops a guy like you, right? Like you're motorcycling, you're doing technicians, and you're road racing, and this led to an accident, losing the ability to use your legs. Now, obviously, you've had your bad days, and doing the sit ski didn't happen overnight. Tell us, how did you start sinking like into this wheat juice? It was recommended by a sibling. Did you ever hear of a sit ski before your accident? Tell us everything.
No, to be honest, I never imagined such a thing in life, such as a sit ski, that I'd be going down a mountainside, sitting down, skiing like this. No imagination whatsoever. Yeah, I'm just so thrilled that it's all led to where I'm at today. And I mean, as far as the Living Foods lifestyle, and I mean, it's all just a story in itself. I mean, really, as to how I got to where I'm at. And that's really what it's about. So much to be grateful for. I mean, just because, I mean, it brings me to tears, but I mean, it's like, like you mentioned the word accident and about the motorcycle crash, and I simply accepted it instantly that it had nothing to do with an accident. I mean, I don't use the word, I'm using it now, obviously, but I simply was able to take it from the perspective that it was a motorcycle crash, something I enjoyed doing, and I took full responsibility immediately about the situation. So that in itself, I feel, I mean, not even knowing, but it simply released me from the place of being a victim. And little did I know, I mean, that it had taken me out of that place altogether, and not having to live life from that victimhood standpoint. I mean, little did I know how empowering that in itself was going to be. So, but yeah, basically, it's something that I feel is, I mean, definitely a part of my life. And I can't really even explain that. All I know is that it was something that I asked for. I know that. And I mean, I was just bold enough to simply like ask. And I took these steps, and I'll see if I can keep it as brief as I can. But basically, I had learned through my upbringing and as as a as a Catholic, and got introduced, the whole Christianity movement and things like that. And so I jumped into my closet, my clothes closet, and used it as a prayer closet, learning this through the Bible, whatever. And I simply made sure it was pitch dark in the closet, got on my hands and my knees, and this is simply what I did. I said, God, I'd like you to prove it to me that you are real and that you do exist. I could care less how disastrous it is. I don't really believe in mankind anymore, and I don't want to go through life with confusion. I want to have clarity about what this is about. And I mean, in such a simple asking prayer, whatever you'd like to call it, it wasn't, 2-3 months later, I woke up laying flat on my back there on the side of the racetrack, and it was like revealed instantly, like, Kenny, what you asked for, like months back, like, I think it's, this is what's happened. And it was like, it was so powerful, even through the trauma that I was experiencing in that moment. It was like, I had such clarity, even in that moment, like, Kenny, like, look. And it was like, you're going to take responsibility for this. And it's a really in-depth story. I'm just like going to just cover the basics of it. But basically, before I even went into that prayer closet, I remember walking around in my backyard. And I walked around in my backyard, and I'm looking around, like saying, there's much more to life than what I'm doing. But everybody thinks I'm doing fabulous. But all of a sudden, I'm just like, I don't think so. I'm a motorcycle racer. I'm going to work. Whoop-de-doo. I'm going to take a vacation every now and then, whatever. I'm working, whatever, 8 to 5, something like that. And I'm just like, really? There's got to be more to life than this. But what is it? So that in itself is what led me to this particular seeking, prayer, whatever it is. And I realized through this that all I was lacking was my spiritual link, believe it or not. But I didn't know. I didn't know how to pursue it at the time. I simply didn't know. So this is what I chose to do. Little did I know in the asking. And so, life goes on. And so then it wasn't shortly after I ended up in a wheelchair and went through rehab and all that, as you mentioned in the bio. And my older brother, Mike, he comes up to me one day and he's like, you plan on walking again? I looked at him like, you some kind of fruitcake? What's going on here? I says, all I heard in rehab is all the negativity about you'll never walk again. You'll never walk again. You're going to use a wheelchair. You're going to use a wheelchair. I had other thoughts about actually pursuing some type of way of being able to be mobile, but it wasn't with a wheelchair. And I had come up with all these ideas, but then I simply just distracted myself through all the rehabilitation and things like that, not belittling anyone. And so basically, I started using the wheelchair, and life just started happening after that. So anyway, my brother Mike, to come back to it, my brother Mike says, well, here's this book called Survival in the 21st Century. He says, and there's a woman in here that has a testimony about being paralyzed and walking out of it by like going on some kind of fast for 40 some days or something, just drinking wheatgrass juice. And so basically, I feel like she had these earth angels, you know, what I refer to as earth angels, people that just had this unconditional love for her or something, because somebody had to grow the wheatgrass. I mean, I don't know. I never met this woman in person. Somebody had to juice it. I mean, someone had to assist her. I mean, I know these things because I'm a wheelchair user and what it takes, I mean, to do things. And I don't know the extent of what her injury was exactly, but all I know is that from what I read, she was paralyzed. But after these days of fasting, walked out of it some way, somehow. Well, it's something I've never been bold enough to do, go on a wheatgrass fast for 40 some days. But it introduced me to a whole new world. Reading that one book, I had no idea about the nutrition, I had no idea about yoga, I had no idea about breatharians, vegetarians, fruitarians, the iridology, reflexology. All this is talked about in this book. And it's like, wow, this is overwhelming for this guy. It's like, what is all this? So basically, I focus on the nutritional aspect of the book. And that's how I got into drinking the wheatgrass juice and growing the sprouts. And learning like, wow, hold on a second. I can actually live a completely different lifestyle. I mean, amazing, amazing, amazing. So I started doing this, and with a short period of time after drinking the wheatgrass juice and growing the sprouts and consuming these and drinking the juice, all of a sudden I'm just like, wow, I feel so good. It's like I didn't even go through the detoxification, it seemed like, immediately until later on. What Dr. Bernard Jensen referred to back in the days as a healing crisis is what I learned. So, yes, I definitely experienced that as well. But I'm like looking around saying, gee, why isn't everybody doing this? If you feel this great, why isn't everybody doing this? Well, it just so happens that things prior to the motorcycle crash have led to, I mean, simply where I'm at today. Like, when I was still walking around, just like maybe a year or two prior to the motorcycle crash, I get ready to walk into this grocery store. And as I'm getting ready to walk into the grocery store, it's like I had this epiphany. Like, I know I got to eat, but I'm going into a grocery store, but there's not a damn thing in here I want. And I'm like, what's going on here? Next thing I know, it's like I ended up going to the produce section and stocking up on tons of produce. Didn't even know what the heck to do with it. And I mean, half of it rotted and spoiled before I could even do anything with it. But it's like this simply started leading. And there's even things prior to this that started happening in my life as a teenager, I noticed. And so all of a sudden, it's like I wanted to start eating salads. And it's like, okay, I just wanted to have salads with every meal I had, whether it was a can of Campbell's soup or just a basic sandwich to take to work with me, whatever. I wanted to incorporate a salad no matter what. I mean, so there's all these things that have taken place along the way that have led to where I'm at today. Like the other thing too, as a teenager, I started noticing, because we were exchanging Christmas gifts in school, and this kid decides to give me a whole like box of super bubble gum. And I'm like, oh boy, this is going to make my day, Mr. Junk Food Junkie. Little did I know. And I must have probably chewed the whole box, not immediately, but within time. But I started noticing that all of a sudden, after I would chew gum, I started getting what felt like a sore throat, which seemed to lead to a strep throat. And I started thinking, wow, this is interesting. Every time I chew gum, like I'm getting some kind of reaction to the gum that's going on within my body. And so I went inside and I started looking within myself and saying, this is interesting. So what I simply decided to do was like, well, I'm going to quit chewing gum. I've yet to chew gum ever since. But I mean, if I've had 5 sore throats since then, is a lot. But I have not had a strep throat since. And this is before I even got into the wheatgrass or started learning about nutrition or nourishment or health or anything like that. So I just started listening to these little simple things along the way, and which led to where I'm at today.
That's amazing, Kenny. I keep going, yes, yes, as you're talking. Balance, holistic lifestyle, the intuitive knowing, even back in your teenager years, to listen to your body, to trust. You don't have to understand the chemical ingredients of bubble gum, the sugar reactions that you're having, but you knew this isn't good for me. You stopped it, and it's not a coincidence. All these years later, you hardly get sore throats, direct link to the gum chewing. Something that really caught me was the victim stance and the triangle of disempowerment and how you flipped all of that. Because typically somebody who loses the feelings of their legs would be very angry, but you went into a closet, a prayer closet, and basically was like, okay, God, show yourself. And then this is how God presented. And this is what is better known as trauma, because it caused a complete change in your life that forced you to change. Whether you were ready for that change or not, you had to change. And this is the eagle condor medicine, better known as the poof state, where it's like today you're walking and then tomorrow, poof, your whole entire lifestyle has now changed, right? And the accountability, responsibility that comes with that is really powerful, because for most people, it can take a lifetime just to get to this point, but you were already spiritually in tune. You didn't think you were, because none of that was familiar to you. You were raised Catholic. That's what was familiar. You never heard of things like yoga, meditation, but part of you was already very familiar with things like yoga, meditation, and mindfulness, because that's what you were doing in your prayer closet. And then the day of your accident, you were experiencing that eagle condor medicine where poof, literally your life changed. And what's ironic is this happened to me too. I have the use of my legs, but I lost everything, right? My health took a hit. I lost everything. And unlike you, I didn't make the connection or appreciate it right away, but years after the fact, I was able to appreciate that that was probably the best thing that happened to me, because if it wasn't for my health taking a hit, then I wouldn't have gone down that rabbit hole where I faced other truths, which even though losing everything was challenging, it shifted me out of survival mode. It shifted me away from that matrix. And that matrix, my old matrix, was everything to me because it's all I knew. And your mind's number one job is to keep you safe, even if it means lying to you and creating false inhibiting beliefs, which is basically how I was living my life, telling myself lies, being in survival mode, convincing myself that this is normal. And then one day I was forced to make change, and it's made space for this matrix where I get to do story, species, story medicine and chat with people like you. And I do energy medicine now. I became a hypnotherapist. Like, I don't think any of that stuff would have happened. My views about health and wellness, reasons why somebody would visit a doctor or a psychologist are quite different from when I was growing up. And even my own faith and belief in God and my atonement with God the Father has really shifted. And undeniably, it was challenging, mostly because I didn't have anybody to talk to about this kind of stuff. I didn't have a Kenny in my life. We hear inspiring stories all the time, right? Here in Canada, Terry Fox is a big name. He was a teenager boy with cancer, lost his leg, but he raised a lot of awareness by running a marathon every day. I thought it was interesting too that rehabilitation, you found that to be a distraction. And I relate to that totally, because my own rehabilitation process, like everything the psychologist was telling me to do, I was doing it. But then the things that, basically all that mattered to her and the doctors was that I would return to work. What brought me joy, that didn't actually matter. The fact that I was in a dance class and remembering the dance moves, struggling with the brain fog, the confidence to persevere and to make mistakes in that epigenetics, the environment, which is so important. It's like they didn't care about that. They just cared about plugging me back into a matrix that was way too overwhelming. And I associate this with the mask. You too, you were wearing a mask just like me. And for reasons that we understand, crossed with reasons that are beyond our understanding, that mask was ripped right off of our mind, body, spirits, aura, energy field the day that you got into the crash, and the day that I lost everything, that eagle condor medicine poof state. And so we think of medicine as this thing that we take to heal us, but often medicine is hard to swallow because the accountability that comes with it and the truth that comes with it. And I call this truth owl medicine, the truths that we don't want to acknowledge. But in your case, you're like, bring it on, owl medicine, bring it on, truths. I'm ready to, play tennis on a wheelchair. I'm not going to let this rule my life. I'm not going to let this bring me down. I'm not going to let this inhibit me. Is your life perfect? No. But are you embracing a new matrix? Yes. Are you, what can I do is a question you will ask yourself every day. Not, oh, I'm going to feel sorry for myself and think about how my life could have been. That matrix is over. Just like the water in the last shower you took. Even if you wanted that matrix back, you can't have it back. Same with me. So what do? Stay stagnant or move on? Well, this is the part of the hero's journey that I just can't get enough inspiration of, because how many people out there listening are very wowed by this? Somebody like yourself continuing on. I just got to show this picture again here of you on the sit ski. Just a phenomenal picture, right? And I noticed no helmet, no sunglasses, not to mother hen you or anything, but should you be wearing a helmet, Kenny? I mean, this is pretty incredible here. And I love the wording, being human is super, because we often talk about superpowers when really just being our normal natural selves is the superpower. And digging in to ourselves, going inward, like you talk about, going inward, and honoring how we think and feel. That's our superpower, and building on it. And I think this would be a great title for a book and cover for you to publish.
Okay.
So I tend to throw a lot of at my guests, but anything you want to throw in there, Kenny? The triangle of disempowerment. The triangle is the strongest structure. So to get out of that, and to break that chain and to spiral out of it, not to keep looping the same circle, but to alchemize into a new lifestyle is really powerful. I've got tons of questions about wheatgrass and juicing and your prayer cloth. I'm always full of questions, but do you want to say anything, Kenny, before I load you with more questions? Or
Beautiful, yes. As far as that photo, yeah, I'm actually cross-country skiing there, and that was taken in Sun Valley, Idaho. What they call the Boulder Mountain Tour. I go there. I've been going there on a regular basis. It's a 15K cross-country competition that they have there, and I really enjoy going there. I really enjoy the venue there. I feel it's really sit-ski friendly. Always a great time. And so we're not really, I mean, yeah, we are carrying some speeds, but it's not anything like in alpine downhill sit skiing where you're going way faster. And when I do downhill ski, I'm definitely wearing a helmet for sure. So thanks for bringing that up. But yeah, I haven't noticed any cross-country able-bodied skiers or sit skiers wearing helmets unless they've had some kind of prior, maybe TBI or something, and they're wanting to protect themselves. So, but yeah.
yeah, I went downhill skiing back in grade 8, and we didn't have to wear helmets. But I could not stop for the life of me. My leg strength, I just didn't have it in me to cross the skis to slow down. So I would just slam into the chalet. That's how I would stop. And then if I could, I would dodge the chalet, and then I would start leaving. Like I would go through the parking lot until I slowed down to the point where I stopped. And then I haven't been skiing since because and cross country skiing I found was really challenging for my body. If there was a little slope, it was okay, but any slopes are hard on my body. But in this picture, I don't know what the slope is, the angle, but you would definitely be gaining some momentum on there for sure. And the number 1313, I just think that's like a lucky number there.
Yeah, I never thought about. Yeah, definitely. When I looked at the picture later, I was like 1313. I guess I didn't even realize that day of the competition that I'd been given that number. But anyway, yeah, it's a great number. I thought as well.
Take us back to the prayer closet. Was that something that was just part of your upbringing to have a place where you would pray, or was this like in? Tell us a little bit about that. Would you like actually clear the clothes from the closet, or would you just get in there, clothes and everything, and say your prayers?
Yeah, it's not something I feel that I grew up with. I mean, I attended, catechism and things like that. But no, I mean, I didn't really even have much interest in learning much about the Bible or anything back in those days at all. I really don't know. I mean, I don't have it. All I know is that, like I mentioned earlier, that I read about closets, prayer closets somewhere along the way. And being that this was like what I led myself to do. I mean, like this was like a significant thing in my life at that time. And basically listening to what I was asking when I mentioned I was in the backyard and looking at my life and everybody thinks I'm doing great, and how all that led to like, okay, you're going to get in your clothes closet. No, you're not going to rearrange your clothes from what I can remember. All I know is that I made sure to close the doors and made sure that it was pitch dark in there. And that's what I chose to do. And how I referred to the word God, well, my view of God then was completely different than it is today. All right. And so I don't know if I want to go into that or not. But anyway, it's completely different. but I'm still like, I feel like the communication that I have with what people refer to as source, God, the infinite, spirit, whatever it is, that hasn't changed. So I don't know what to say, but
Yeah,
that
I
hasn't.
get what you're saying. I totally relate. Like, I was raised Roman Catholic, and so subconscious programming, right? We talk a lot about that with our Communicells community. But yeah, I was raised Roman Catholic, so I had this idea of what God was and how things are supposed to work. And then you grow up and things aren't exactly lining up. And then you experience life and, shitty things happen. And it's like, where is God? That's the typical question. Where is God in the middle of all of this chaos, right? But I had to go down this path where I did this activity called atonement of God, atonement of the Father, and it means God the Father. And it basically means like nobody likes to be judged, including God. So everything that I ever thought about God was basically an idea that I had or that somebody imposed on me. But really, who is God? What is God? And I don't think anybody can really answer that question. It's just something that we experience. And so there's like my relationship that I've always had with, like you said, God, creator, source, energy, categories aside. And then there's the ideas that I had when I was a little girl. Those ideas don't exactly carry the same weight anymore because of my life skills training experiences, but also because I was introduced to other things like hypnotherapy, energy medicine, which you don't learn about growing up Roman Catholic. And so I feel, yeah, like there's a lot of shifts in perspective that come when you're living your life. Do you still go into a prayer closet these days, or do you have a special place you go to regularly, or just kind of when you feel you need to?
Great question. No, I don't actually. I feel that I'm able to do it all the time, wherever I'm at. Doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't make a bit of difference in my life, and so I just feel that it's an opportunity to do it wherever I choose to do it. And
The darkness of the prayer closet, I feel, is important too. I feel a lot of folks out there listening can relate to that because even myself, at nighttime when I'm in my bed and it's dark, that's when I feel, doesn't matter if my eyes are open or closed, it's dark. And there's some kind of connection with me, my spirit, my conscious mind, my subconscious mind. We're just all there together. And that's the impression I got when you were talking about the prayer closet. It was like a dream, like where everything is in sync and it's darkness. And that darkness, it's like that womb and tomb where everything is created, everything is destroyed, everything is existing in there. So you were able to tap into your deeper inner knowing. Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question too. Okay, so we both know epigenetics matters, right? The environment, the people who are around you. And in a situation like yours, when you were first around other people on wheelchairs who were new to being on a wheelchair like yourself, did you find them to be more negative? Did they have a more hopeful attitude like you did? Did you find it hard to be around people on wheelchairs? It's like, oh, here comes that guy again and all his negative baggage. Like, or tell us about that. Like, what was the epigenetics like with other people like yourself making this transition?
yeah, well, really, I don't know if I knew anything about epigenetics then, but I guess I guess a part of me that did, in a sense. So basically, great question. Yeah, when I went to my first national championship as a sit skier, alpine skier, which was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming in '86, I get there and I'm like, I'm around all these other wheelchair athletes, and not only wheelchair athletes, but people blind, missing arms, missing legs. I mean, you name it, all these different physical challenges, basically. And I get there, I'm like, wow, never thought about this before. But I was feeling this ego energy. And I'm just like, and didn't even really focus on that too much as a motorcycle road racer, the ego. But all of a sudden, I'm at this national sit ski alpine national championship. And all of a sudden, it's like, I feel this ego energy. And I'm like, hold on a second. This isn't where I want to be. I'm like, this is not what I choose. And I'm like saying, guess what, Kenny? You're here. Just simply be who you are and focus on your energy and just rise up and just simply be who you are and be yourself. And so I started noticing as I was going to wheelchair sporting events and things like that, I noticed a negativity. And I'm not here to belittle anyone or myself, but I just simply noticed this, like, it's not so easy for some of these people in wheelchairs. And I'm just like, oh, wow. And I'm like, wow, Ken, you have so much to be grateful for, that you've taken responsibility and you're not blaming anyone or anything for your crash. And that in itself was so uplifting to be able to live from this experience. I mean, which is empowerment. Little did I know how empowering it is.
I feel like that's the real medicine of this story medicine is, people listening are shaking their heads going like, this guy is saying that it's empowering to become paraplegic. Like, how is this possible here, right? But it's understanding this eagle condor medicine and this poof state and the shifting from an old matrix that was more inhibiting than this matrix, which is ironic because the ability thing, not being able to walk. And I was wondering, do people who, I don't even know the socially appropriate language anymore, able-bodied. I used to be a public school teacher, so I was more in tune with this kind of stuff. But people who can use their legs, like if I wanted to join in the competition of sit skiing, can I do that? Even though my legs work, am I allowed to, compete? Why not?
Great question. I can't answer that 100%. It seems like you've got to have some kind of physical challenge where you've got to have like a doctor's written letters that states that you have some kind of physical challenge. I know that for sure. But all I know is that I highly recommend that if someone wants to feel what it's like to get on a sit ski, I'm all for it, because you can actually get the feel for it and see what it feels like. Like for myself, I'm just like, to feel the G forces. Honestly, I've never, even as a motorcycle racer, I've never felt some of these particular G forces as I'm able to feel going down a mountainside on a sit ski. I mean, there's just something about some of these moves where you can just feel these G forces just really working with you. And I'm just like, wow, to be able to experience that, and having been a motorcycle racer and didn't experience that as a motorcycle racer, but being able to feel it on a sit ski is just like, this is really cool.
It's really inspiring because for people who maybe they have legs, but their legs are not exactly the most mobile or they're not the strong enough, or somebody like me who's like always crashing into things and I can't stop downhill skiing, like maybe this could be something for somebody like me to try, or people who are in their senior years who are not exactly active, you know. But I remember on TV there was this really cool commercial, and there's all these boys playing basketball, and then this one boy's on a wheelchair, and then the next day um, the dad's like, come on, let's go to the park or whatever, and he doesn't want to go, and they go, and everybody has a wheelchair and they're playing basketball, and there was some kind of special message about, you know, being inclusive and whatnot. But
Okay.
I thought it was interesting because really, in truth, if anybody out there is playing basketball or skiing or doing anything with their legs, if you really wanted to increase your skill, try doing it sitting down. Try doing it with one arm, just to really exercise all those different senses that you wouldn't have to exercise normally. Because playing one sport all the time actually inhibits your body. Like if all you do is play hockey, then your body actually is not getting that balanced movement like you would if you played a plethora of sports, for example. So those were images that were coming to my mind when you were chatting. Tell us about wheat juicing. Is it tasty? Do you just drink it straight? Do you get diarrhea from it at first? When you first went on it, were you feeling hungry? Anything with wheat, I think beer. Can you make beer from it? Tell us all about wheat juice.
Well, um, gee, uh,
Can you make beer with it? Are you making beer juice at home with your wheat juice?
no,
How do you grow it? You just
definitely.
water bottle spray it? I want to know everything.
Okay. I'll go with the the taste first of all. And so um I feel that as far as the taste goes, that might be dependent on maybe the toxicity of a person's body.
So are you
Uh
saying it doesn't taste good, Kenny? Is that what you're
it tastes like grass off, I mean, from the lawn basically. And when you start juicing it, I mean, when you know, when people are mowing the lawn, you smell that smell, and pretty much smells like that. And but I mean, until you actually grab some of the grass and put it in your mouth, and you get the taste of what it tastes like. And I feel that maybe for most, you might have to acquire a taste, which is definitely something I had to do. But being that I had read Victoria Skovinska's testimony, the gentleman that was the author of Survival in the 21st Century, after, I mean, it was his testimonies about how he was able to heal himself in so many ways, and he had to do this. I mean, that in itself was so inspiring to Kenny, being able to read his testimony, that I'm like, so yeah, I mean, I feel you have to acquire a taste for it for sure. I've noticed that as I've shared it with others along the way, that it seems like, depending on, like I say, what the toxicity levels are of the person inside the person's body, that maybe that's gonna like want to shy people away from actually wanting to taste it or drink it or smell it. But when I realized the nutritional benefits of it and how nourishing it is, I just like, if this is how it tastes, this is how it tastes, and I'm gonna drink it. I'm gonna chew on it. Whatever I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna do it because I just like, there are benefits here from what I read, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to do it. And
Yeah,
so,
that's really powerful. So are you drinking this room temperature, or do you put it in the fridge? Or you just juice it and drink it?
Okay, so basically, I prefer to cut it down when it's at its peak of growth, where it has its most nutritional value, and simply just cut it down fresh, put it in the juicer, juice it, and drink it. I mean, I feel that for others, maybe it's a little bit of coolness is required. So at that point, I would suggest a person cut it down fresh, bag it up, put it in the refrigerator, keep it in there for a day or so, and get it out of the refrigerator, put it in the juicer and juice it, and it'll have a coolness to it, which is different, which is also enjoyable as well. But I also feel that what I've learned as far as the taste goes, I feel that a really good taste is actually in the soil that it's grown in. Because when my older brother Mike introduced me to it and says, I've given you the knowledge on how to grow it and you haven't done it yet. And he's like, what's your excuse? And I'm like, well, I got to get the soil and I still have to get the grain. And next thing I know, he brings me a bag of soil and brings the grain and brings the tray and says, here, you don't have any excuses now. So that's how I got to growing it. And, simply getting a tray to put the soil in and spraying the soil down. And you have to soak the seeds overnight, basically, is what's recommended. And that's what I've been doing. Soak the seeds overnight, then drain them and rinse them out if that's what you choose to do. I don't feel you really have to rinse them, but you can if you'd like. And then you let them germinate, like in a dark place. You let them germinate for a day or two before planting them. And after they germinate, then I feel that's a really important stage, not to let them over germinate where they actually start sprouting. I feel that's a really vital piece to this information. So then you just put the seeds on top, well, first of all, I moisten the soil, then put the seeds on top, spread them out evenly so that they're really not piled on top of each other. I'm very pragmatic about how I do that. So anyway, that's just how it is. But I meticulously do that. And then after that, I do a fine mist over the top of them and then put a cover over them. And it's like you have to replicate nature, basically, is really what it comes down to inside. If you're going to be doing, which is what I do it inside. So basically just replicating what nature would be doing. And so then after I cover it with another tray on top, then I put it in a semi-dark area and leave it covered for a day or two, 3 days at the most, then take the cover off, expose it to the sunshine, give it a nice little watering, not over watering it, and put it in it basically grows better in indirect light. And so, but yeah, just put it in front of a window, or if you've got some kind of lights, you could put it underneath the lights.
So to clarify, you're using soil, but growing indoors.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I haven't grown wheatgrass before, but I have cat grass that I grow for my cat Rosie, and there's like oats in there. Maybe there's wheatgrass mixed in there. I don't know. But I haven't used soil, but I have these little trays with holes in it, and it's kind of the same idea. You have to spritz it with the water. I find I have to soak the seeds for 2 days in a row. Otherwise, they dry out way too fast. But you mentioned something about germinating. You want them to germinate, but not start actually sprouting. I guess there's a real, these are kind of like delicate seeds to work with, or do you find them pretty like green thumb friendly, I guess. Like, how long does it take to grow? Like, I mean, to the point where you actually cut it and make juice out of it, like a good 2-week period?
Oh, no, not at all. Well, so basically, it depends on the temperature of your house, or the temperature outside basically is going to reflect what's actually happening in your home, whether it's winter or summer, whatever it may be. Yeah, that's gonna make a difference. But okay, so to be more specific, the grain that I'm using is called hard red winter wheat. And there's a difference. There's also a soft wheat, which is there's a soft wheat, but that's used more for pastries. And I'm not saying that the hard red winter wheat isn't either, but Dr. Ann Wigmore, who was definitely a pioneer in the living foods movement in the United States, she recommended you use hard red winter wheat. And the reason for that is because I guess the hard red winter wheat just doesn't break down as fast, which has the ability maybe to attract some kind of mold. The hard red winter wheat doesn't break down. It continues to once it germinates, it continues to grow. I've noticed with a soft wheat, it'll just simply start like breaking down on its own and won't really germinate or sprout. And so that's why I feel it's really delicate in the germination stage. Is the reason that is because you don't want it to start sprouting where it gets a 1/4 inch long or longer than that, because at the same time it starts getting tangled up within each other. It just starts getting tangled up, and it starts getting tangled up. Then you're just like, oh, gee, now I got to untangle all this before I can actually spread it down. And yeah, I feel it just causes issues.
Yeah, this resonates with me a lot because even just growing the cat grass and the mixture of the oat grass, it's like sometimes it gets moldy on me and I don't know why. And then other times, like I said, I'm soaking the seeds for 2 days because I find it's just not like they dry out before I can even do anything. And it just when it starts to germinate, it's like there's a few like green sprouts, and then overnight it's like, whoa, like you said, they all start getting tangled and whatnot. So I'm pretty good about spreading the seed. But again, it's on like a little tray. I just keep looking here because they're over there. But they just kind of grow and it looks really awesome and hardy, but then it dies. So either Rosie needs to eat it, and she'll usually kill the plant just by ripping it apart, or it'll start molding on me and turning yellow just because the life cycle is over. But I think the mold issue I'm having might be something like what you were talking about. I wrote the word broccoli down because a lot of people grow broccoli at home and they just grow the broccoli, like they get it to germinate. And basically that's what they eat, the broccoli shoots. And I've heard of people doing this with bean sprouts as well and different legumes. And it seems like power and simplicity, like we have such a food crisis, and yet these very roots and shoots are jam-packed full of nutrients. And there's like even just foraging food in the neighborhood, all these weeds around us that actually are jam-packed full of nutrients. So the book that you were referring to, How to Survive the 21st Century, something like that, I think this is really important because when we think of food, we think of these big, huge meals, right? The Canada's Food Guide tells us to eat 3 times a day. It's way too much food to eat. The portion sizes, but really in truth, like, you know, we're animals and we forage, and we typically historically didn't eat every day. We ate maybe every 2 or 3 days when there was abundance, and we would just pig out on that abundance. And I don't remember the name of the seed, but there's lots of seeds out there that if you eat the seeds, it keeps you hydrated. So long ago, indigenous people, they didn't walk around with water bottles. They just walked. And I never even thought about it. Like, where did they get water? And it's at some point they would need water, but because the food that they ate, and they ate, watermelon and the seeds, they ate seeds with everything. And this defaulted people to just having better health and overall hydration. Meanwhile, today we're genetically modifying watermelon so it has less seeds. Well, now we have less nutrients as well. So this is really inspiring. Do you grow your own broccoli or anything like that? Or are you just hooked on the wheat juice? Wheat juice only juice, or what's your perspective? Are you willing to try broccoli?
Yes, I grow broccoli sprouts as well. I go through different stages, obviously, because there's so many different things you can sprout. I mean, from broccoli to radish to alfalfa to cabbage to clover to, sunflower to peas, lentils, aduki beans, wheat. I mean, you name it. I mean, any vegetable seed that's out there. The big buzzword today, which I didn't even know till just honestly till like about 2 or 3 years ago, microgreens now, right? All I ever call, in the few books that I read about sprouting by Dr. Ann Wigmore and Victoria Skovinskas, they just referred to it as sprouts. I never read any word about microgreens. That's the big word today. But yeah, I found for myself, just to give you one example, I prefer to grow the broccoli in a wide mouth mason jar rather than using soil. For me, simply just growing it in the jar, it happens so quickly, and I don't know, for some reason when I put broccoli seeds on the soil, I'm just not really impressed with how it grows versus how it grows in a mason jar, for instance. And so I prefer, so there's different methods I find, as far as sprouting goes, depending on what it is, whether it's broccoli or alfalfa, radish, whatever it may be. Find out what works best for you in these particular situations. It could be also due to high humidity wherever you live. I live in a really dry climate, so I think it's easy to grow things here. So you have to take all these different things into consideration. But yeah, getting back to your question as well earlier, as far as like how long does it take to grow the wheatgrass? In 10 to 12 days in a warm climate where it reaches its peak, and in a colder climate, maybe 12 to 14 days. You could even cut it before that. All I know is if you cut it a little bit earlier, it's really potent. And so, but also the other thing I want to add as well is when my brother purchased that first bag of soil from maybe Walmart or wherever it was, and after I was able to grow the wheatgrass in that particular soil, and I didn't know anything about taste, nothing. And all of a sudden it's like, well, Kenny, look at how that grass is growing just 40 feet away from where you live. Look at how vibrant that grass looks out there in the field. And I'm like, I think I'm going to go get some of that soil, and I'm going to grow my next batch from that soil. And that's what I did. And that's when I'm like, what a huge difference in the taste I noticed immediately. I'm like, okay, I will never use store-bought soil again. I am going to go out into nature and gather the soil. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
That's really powerful. I wrote banana peels down earlier because I was going to ask you if you compost your soil, if you have like banana peels, apple cores, orange peels that you just mix in with your soil. So you can do that. You have a little soil stash outside that you feed and keep healthy, putting, organic waste in there, and then you can bring that indoors. Um, wow. Yeah, because me too. Like I used to garden a lot, and I would get soil from the store, and it's always more acidic-y. Or any plants that I buy at the store, they're pumped with hormones, right? And so then when you transplant them, seemingly they die and they don't do very well because they're lacking that hormone that they're just used to having. But once the plants make the transition and start to understand what it's like, it's kind of like the plants are on drugs almost. Like tomato plants are growing well. Yeah, your tomatoes are nice and big, but the actual tomato plant can't even hold the tomatoes. Like it's just the chemistry is very thrown off, and a lot of soil will eat away at the plant, actually doing it some disharmony instead of creating harmony. So that's really interesting to bring that up. I took the energy medicine training with Alberto Villaldo, and he does a whole program called Grow a New Body because on a cellular level, I mean, we're always cells are dying and cells are growing, right? And I don't remember which body parts, but like your liver and your heart have a different time frame. So, for example, every 3 years, you basically have a brand new heart because all the cells have died and regrown. Maybe every 7 years, you have a brand new liver because of this. I don't remember what the actual number of years are. So he does the shaman's kitchen, and there's an emphasis on microgreens and not being afraid because seemingly you see a nice big plate of pasta and then it's like, oh, here's your little handful of microgreens. But in truth, that little handful of microgreens is higher quality and it's better for you, and it's going to stay with you longer, providing nutrients for your body, not just your brain, but all of your organs, your skin, your teeth, keeping you healthy and in check. And so I think microgreens can be scary to people who are not familiar with them because it's like, well, what else are you eating, And so do you ever get tired of wheat juice? Are you like, I'm done with this, I need a break? Or do you ever use it in cooking? Like maybe if you're making rice, you have to add water to the rice. Could you add the wheat juice and make rice that way? Would it be tasty? Would you recommend that?
Well, I wouldn't recommend it just because in the heating up process, it's going to eliminate its nutritional value from the heat. And so it's highly recommended that you drink it in its fresh, live state because it's going to retain the enzymes, especially the vitamins, the minerals, the amino acids, because it's highly perishable. And so heat will definitely have an effect on its nutritional support for sure.
That's fascinating that you say that because I was watching something about this girl who was making like medieval cuisine, forgotten recipes. And she would basically just boil the hell out of lentils, boil the hell out of this, boil the hell out of that. And it's not exactly appealing because it's like baby food, right? It's just mush. But she was saying you had to actually boil it to get to the point where the certain minerals were released. And then it's interesting because you have food like wheatgrass where it's like, don't boil it because that's going to actually kill the nutrients. And so did you ever feel overwhelmed with these changes?
Well, I mean, I went from basically what I would consider being, without even knowing, a junk food junkie. I mean, I had no idea. I mean, with all the highly processed foods that I was consuming. But that brings up a really good point, because when you mentioned earlier about what, um, well, we did a long time ago as far as foraging and not eating 3 meals a day, and not carrying water and all that, and how we were able to stay hydrated. Uh, well, the thing is we're consuming foods today that I would call dry foods. And it's in the dry foods that are, I feel, causing dehydration. And so it's like, if you're consuming foods that actually have the natural water in them, you're getting hydrated by doing that. But I think what you might have been thinking about earlier, as far as a seed that contributes to hydration, I feel for myself, I don't know the science behind it, but I feel that chia seeds help with hydration in the body, seem to retain the water in the body. But I know that from the sprouts, I mean, the watermelon, like you mentioned, it has a high content of water in it. The sprouts require water in order for them to live and to continue growing. And you were talking about, nourishment earlier as well. And I mean, a sprout, a germinated sprout, or a sprouted seed, the nutritional value is like so high on the scale. I mean, there's not even any comparison to a mature carrot versus a sprouted carrot seed. The nutritional value is, I mean, look it up for yourself. Or, I mean, really, I mean, what the nutritional content is, it's just amazing. Yep.
I always say homemade is best made, because I've seen broccoli sprouts and whatnot at the grocery store, and it doesn't look appealing. They usually come in this clear container that's about this small, and they're all squashed together. And I think homemade is best made, and then you see it, and it's you can't beat the freshness. Even just growing cat grass for my cat here, I see that. The droplets of water on there, and that just the delighting and just the eating it as it is. You know, tell us about Tony Robbins. Why Tony Robbins? Just because he's a famous guy and he was famous and you heard about him, or did something specifically lead you to Tony Robbins? He's super inspiring.
Jennifer Grace, who you mentioned, she was basically my first personal development coach. And when I first was introduced to her, she's like, Kenny, you don't have to sign up with my organization at all. She says, there's people out there like Tony Robbins, and the list goes on. I don't even remember the rest of them, to be honest. And she's like, you don't have to sign up for my organization. You don't have to sign up for my coaching, anything like that. She's like, there's all these other people out there. Check them out, see if you resonate with them or whatever. And so I'm like, well, no, I'm not really going to look into it. And I just decided to sign up for her organization. But I didn't even know who Tony Robbins was until she mentioned the name. So then later on, I said, well, I'll see who this Tony Robbins guy is. And I thought that, well, if I go to another organization, well, I might learn more, gather more information or more knowledge or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, you can keep searching and searching and searching when I realized, Kenny, but hold on a second. You only require so much information, and you only require, I mean, so much to know, and it's just all up to you to just keep going within so that you can change the belief from a belief to knowing. And the only way you're going to get that is you have to simply go within. I mean, all the believing is out on the outside, but the actual, to get to the knowing, to discover what the truth of knowing is, it all is internal. It's all internal work. And so, I mean, I'm not belittling. Yes, I did sign up with Tony Robbins' organization later on, realizing, well, not belittling him or anything like that, but hey, you know what? He's doing what he's doing. He's great. He's great at it, and more power to him, and all those people that he's inspired along the way and encouraged along the way, and all that. And but yeah, basically, when I was with his organization, to be honest, one thing I learned is it's about accountability. I was like, wow, just one simple thing is accountability. It's like making your own self accountable, or find a dear friend or your partner, or whatever it is, to have them make you accountable when you're procrastinating or simply not putting action forth. But that was one big thing I learned with his organization. It's like, wow, just like, really, that's it, accountability. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
it
okay.
seems so simple, you know,
Yeah.
but that accountability piece and the discipline that goes along with it is powerful. I remember early, I was still a student. I don't know, I wasn't a teacher yet. I was still a student, and there was a classroom, and it had a no smoking sign, but instead of smoking cigarettes, it said no excuses. Like there's no excuses. There's like, you are, because I guess like this teacher always got assignments in lates or whatever. So she's like, no excuses. But I found that applied to me. I kept that with me for like my whole life. No excuses. Live your life by no excuses. And it is not easy. It's not easy. I was going to ask you too about things like meditation, like aside from the eating healthy and the wheatgrass, do you meditate regularly? Is this part of your lifestyle? And what about before you compete for the sit skiing? Do you like, how do you train, I guess is what I'm asking. How do you train for sit skiing?
Well, as far as the mind goes, it's definitely like when I was downhill racing, what I was taught is you get the opportunity to inspect the course prior to racing. And I also did that in motocross and in road racing as well, in the motorcycle world. And so basically you get out there and you feel it out, but it's about visualizing and memorizing the course, the racetrack, whatever that is. And to me, it's being able to just, like you were talking about the darkness earlier in the closet. And yes, in a sense, what I find is by simply closing your eyes, it's like it's putting you in that darkness area as well, where you're able to simply minimize the distraction from the outside. And by closing your eyes, you're tuning in to being able to focus on the visualization. And I feel that's where you were describing it as well. That's where the power is. And that's where it, and so, yeah, so it's, that mind work is definitely, is so powerful in itself. And the other thing I learned to do as a cross-country skier is a breathing technique. And so I'll usually close my eyes before a cross-country competition and simply do this breathing technique. And it's really simple. I was taught this by a gentleman who I think became like a champion weightlifter or something. And I was mentioning him one day about, I remember when I used to run track in high school and cross country running in high school, how I seemed to just get like really burnt out. Like in the first 100 yards, I just like, wow. And I've got like another quarter mile to go or half mile to go or 2 miles to go, whatever. And I'm feeling like burnt out after just the first 100 yards. Like, really, how am I going to pull this off? I mentioned it to this gentleman. He's like, well, Kenny, what's happening is you're having like anxiety going on. Little did you know. And your heart rate was being elevated. And so all these things were actually happening in your body. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay. Thanks for that information. He says, let me just show you a real simple breathing technique. I'm like, oh, okay. Show me. And it simply just goes like this. I just close my eyes and I just go, and I just simply inhale through my nose by closing my mouth. As you can see, just simply until you can't inhale anymore. And then you just breathe it out and just repeat that maybe 3 or 4 times, however many times you want to repeat it. And just do that. Well, all the anxiety disappears, and I just notice when I go out there, I don't experience that burnout in the first 100 yards anymore at all, just by one simple little breathing technique. Yep.
Again, the power and simplicity, right? There's lots of different breathing techniques. That one I haven't heard of. And thank you for sharing that. And I also was wondering, or I wrote down hypnotherapy practice, because it's almost like as you were taking care of yourself and taking charge of your life, you were actually identifying false inhibiting beliefs. This business of like when you first entered rehab and all this don't language and you're not going to be able to do this, and you weren't hearing any of that. You were not going to let false inhibiting beliefs rule you. And so whether you were consciously aware of it or not, it was like you were redirecting your mind. Anytime negativity came, you were like, nope, we are switching this right now in the present moment. We're going to, because the mind can only focus on one thing at a time, right? And your focus was having a positive attitude, but the accountability piece, I'm accountable, I'm cleaning this up, and I'm moving forward in my life, holding myself in the highest light, better health, better nutrition, and being inspired by people like Tony Robbins. And now you're inspiring other people. Do you teach sit skiing? Or do you teach any kind of, I think you're frozen there on me, Kenny.
I'm okay.
Oh, you're unfrozen. Did you hear all of that?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. You were frozen on my screen. Do you teach? Oh, actually, let me rewind. Have you ever engaged in hypnotherapy, or have you ever felt like you were self-hypnotizing yourself? Or is it interesting that I even say that? Or
yeah, there's an interest in it for sure. I don't know if I've really done that to myself. I've experienced it with another practitioner, but I don't know if that was actually the practitioner for Kenny, because it felt like while I was in the session that it's like, really, you can't like visualize this, and I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you, dear. It just isn't happening. And so the practitioner kind of got a little bit irate. We're like, really, you're just like not having this experience right now? And I'm just not. What can I say? Do you want me to like fake it or come up with something like I'm having this blissful experience, or who knows what? What do you want me to experience here right now? And so
that's hilarious.
But yeah, getting back to your question, about, also, and we can go back to that if you'd like, but yeah, I mean, yes, I've taught, some people along the way how to sit ski. Uh, for sure, I've also been able to help others with like how to feel more support while in a sit ski, whether it's the use of a kidney belt, which we used in motocross, some kind of strapping to hold you more secure in the seat. I've been able to be really helpful in these places. And that's one thing that I loved about when I transitioned from being a motorcycle road racer, motocrosser, is I've just always had this willingness to go to these events. And yes, it's a competition, but not view it as a competition from my perspective. Like, I'm here to support others in this competition. I'm not here to like, oh yeah, well, my secret's better than yours and I can't share that with you because I want to be the winner. The way I look at it is everybody's a winner because it takes everyone to participate in order to even make the event possible. If only one person showed up to the event, there wouldn't be an event. So it takes all of us in order to make it happen. And so I'm really thrilled to the simple fact that I've always been willing to share whatever it is I know with others to make it a better event. Like, can I help you? Like, do a minor repair on that sit ski. It looks like you might need a nut or a bolt there, or it looks like you might need a little adjustment. I can help you with that adjustment. And it's made for a spectacular event by being able to engage and support others rather than just like, well, it's so competitive. We can't really support each other until the competition's over, and this whole mentality, right? And,
That's
that's
a
what
great attitude to have.
the ego takes over.
Yes.
And, yeah.
I
But
bet
being
there's a
able,
lot of people who don't even realize opportunities to tighten or loosen things or add another bolt or nut. Like they don't know the dynamics, and they might not have the self-esteem or confidence to ask. And then somebody like you
yeah,
is there, providing support and helping to redesign, engineer the very sport
yeah.
in itself and the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Visualization, you said that word a lot too. That makes me think of hypnotherapy as well, because it's always coming back to the senses. Really have to see it, feel it, hear it, smell it, everything about it. And it seems like that's what you're doing when you're practicing. You're visualizing everything, the whole beginning, middle, end, um, even just connecting with other people. Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been great, Kenny. We're at the 90-minute mark right now. How do people contact you if they want to get in touch with you? Do you have a website? I didn't get a link from you, so I wanted to double check here. Okay. Do
Thanks for asking. No, I do not have a website.
you have a Facebook group or a YouTube channel? Oh, you got to get a YouTube channel so you can make videos and upload your videos on there. That would be really great,
Okay.
I guess if somebody really, really wanted to connect with Kenny, who might be listening or catching the replay, send me an email and then I can always reach out to Kenny on your behalf. Or if you wanted Kenny, I can always add your email to the description if you're comfortable with that.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. You can add my
Yeah.
email for sure. That's the best way is to get a hold of me through email or just the old fashioned way with a phone number as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't teach anymore, but I would definitely want to have you as a guest speaker in my class. I'd want to have you speak to the whole school, because we just really can't get enough inspiring stories. And when I think about children in particular, because I worked with children, right? The hardships that they feel, the exclusive environments. We try to make things inclusive, but it's challenging. Even if somebody comes to school with a broken leg, it's like typically in those situations, they keep track of the score. Like in my opinion, that's not really inclusive. You know what I mean? And just talking about it in general, just to talk about it, and the number of people who turn to drugs and alcohol as a coping mechanism, and just the reality check of having a positive environment, positive people in your life. These stories, people really soak up the medicine, and a lot of people feel alone, and they don't have to feel alone. And when they hear stories like yours, it's really inspiring and self-motivating, because all these achievements, they didn't just happen overnight. And you really can turn your world around for the better, and recognizing lessons, very adult lessons at that. You have to be very well and wise, somebody like yourself, to really own the crash as something that was accountable, and reminding yourself about that accountability, and really striving to live the best life ever. I just can't say enough about you. I'm really thankful that you were able to be on my show, and I'm glad that it worked out, because I wasn't sure if you were going to make it or not there with the internet. But any final words, Kenny, before I let you go?
Well, I love being around children, and I have had the opportunity to speak in some of the local public schools, and really enjoy that, because what I love about it is when I'm around children, I just feel like age disappears, and I just feel like I'm able to connect with them with where they're at. And I love how that feels, that connection. And it's not about, well, I'm this older person, or, you're viewing me as this old man or whatever. It's just like I simply just drop the stigma around all that, and just simply just like, I'm just being my true authentic self around these children. And because even though I had the childhood that I had, I still feel like what I love about the childhood that I had, yes, there was some tough times, but yet there was some really great times. And what I love about it is I still focus on the great moments growing up. And that's what I love about how I live my life, is I focus on those beautiful moments growing up as a young boy. And so anyway, but yeah, any final words? I really don't know what to say other than just know to just be your authentic self. It doesn't matter what other people think of you or anything. It's a matter of knowing who you are and becoming more aware of who you are all the time. There is no time for boredom. Once you get into personal growth and you get into personal progress, you get into personal development, it opens up a whole new paradigm, a whole new life. And once you recognize that you're one with it all, it just enhances the quality of our lives.
What a beautiful way to end this show. Thank you so much, Kenny, for being a guest on my show. It was kind of last minute. I threw it out there in my community. I was like, if anybody wants to be a guest on my show, reach out. And Kenny sent me an email, and I'm like, how about next Tuesday? So I really appreciate you being here today and sharing your story, medicine. It was a nice, powerful dose. And just before I remove you from the stage, I want to show this picture again here. Being human is super. So you don't have to worry about being some kind of superhuman. You already are super just the way you are. So thank you so much, Kenny. I'm going to remove you from the stage now. Everybody who's tuning in, if you would like to get in touch with Kenny, just send me an email, ginavirginiacasella@gmail.com, and I can absolutely get in touch with Kenny. And hopefully Kenny will get a YouTube channel, because that would be a really great way to showcase his skiing adventures, and I can see cooking with Kenny or something like that, gardening with Kenny, making all kinds of interesting things at home, different roots and shoots. Let us know what you're drinking, what you're juicing at home. And if you have any stories that you would like to share, turning your life around, anything about accountability, I'd love to have you as a guest on my show. So I'm sure Kenny will be a returning guest. We'll have to have him back. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me on Story Species, Story Medicine, Extra Strength, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye for now.
Story Species, Story Medicine, Extra Strength. Ready to take your medicine with Gina Virginia Casella?
Species of medicine, open for the task. Extra strength is everything you'd ever ask.